The diplomatic shock. The Grand Assembly Chamber. Ambassador Marcus Webb stepped into the most magnificent room he had ever seen. The Galactic Federation Assembly Hall stretched beyond his imagination, with curved walls that seemed to reach into infinity. Thousands of seats filled the massive space, each occupied by beings that defied every earthly description. Creatures with multiple heads watched him with curious eyes, while others that looked like living crystals hummed with soft musical tones. First Contact Protocol. Marcus adjusted his formal uniform and walked toward the small platform at the center of the chamber. His footsteps echoed in the sudden silence as thousands of alien eyes focused on him. This was humanity's moment, their chance to join the galactic community after decades of preparation. Earth had spent enormous resources to reach this point, and Marcus carried the hopes of his entire species. The human delegation had worked for months preparing their presentation. They had gathered data about human achievements, technological advances, and peaceful expansion across nearby star systems. Everything seemed perfect for humanity's entry into galactic civilization. Chairman Zethmore's welcome. A towering figure rose from the central podium. Chairman Zethmore stood nearly 15 feet tall, his body resembling polished metal with veins of flowing light beneath the surface. When he spoke, his voice resonated through the chamber like distant thunder, causing Marcus to feel vibrations in his chest. "Welcome, human representative," Chairman Zethmore announced, his glowing eyes fixed on Marcus. "We gather today to evaluate your species' application for Federation membership. However, recent reports have raised concerning questions about human activities in the outer sectors." Marcus frowned slightly. This wasn't the warm welcome he had expected. The briefing materials from Earth had suggested the Federation was eager to include humanity. What reports could they be referring to? The disturbing evidence. The lights dimmed and a massive holographic display materialized above the chamber. Marcus recognized the images immediately. They showed worlds that human colonies had settled over the past 5 years. Kepler 442b, Gliese 667c, and Proxima Centauri b appeared in brilliant detail, their surfaces covered with thriving human cities and agricultural zones. "These worlds were inhabited when your species arrived," Chairman Zethmore continued, his voice taking on a harder edge. "Our historical records show diverse ecosystems with multiple intelligent species on each planet. Yet our current scans detect only human life signatures." The images changed, showing before and after comparisons. Marcus saw lush alien forests replaced by human farmland, strange alien cities replaced by familiar human architecture, and vast wilderness areas converted into industrial zones. Everything looked clean, organized, and efficient, exactly what human colonists prided themselves on achieving. Marcus's honest explanation. "Yes, sir," Marcus replied, standing straighter with pride. "Those are some of our most successful colony worlds. Our settlers worked incredibly hard to make those places suitable for human habitation." A ripple of whispers spread through the assembly. Creatures shifted uncomfortably in their seats, and several species began making sounds that Marcus couldn't interpret. He wondered if his translation device was malfunctioning. Chairman Zethmore leaned forward, his metallic features reflecting the chamber's lights. "Ambassador Webb, what happened to the original inhabitants of these worlds?" Marcus shrugged casually. "We dealt with them through standard cleanup operations. When you're establishing a new colony, you have to clear out anything that might cause problems for the settlers. It's basic colony management, same thing we did on Earth thousands of years ago." The Federation's horror. The whispers in the chamber grew louder and more agitated. Marcus noticed that many of the alien representatives were standing up, their various appendages waving in what appeared to be distress. Some creatures were changing colors rapidly, while others were making sounds that his translator was struggling to process. "Cleanup operations," Chairman Zethmore's voice rose to a thunderous boom. "You are describing the systematic elimination of entire civilizations." Marcus looked confused by the reaction. "Well, yes, I suppose that's one way to put it. But they were interfering with human settlement. Some of them were eating our crops, others were attacking our construction equipment, and a few species kept trying to reclaim territory we had already allocated for human use. We couldn't just let them continue causing problems. The scope of human expansion. A new speaker rose from the assembly, a creature that resembled a giant jellyfish floating in a containment field. When it spoke, its voice sounded like wind through crystal chimes. Human, how many worlds have undergone these cleanup operations? Marcus consulted his tablet, scrolling through the data with obvious pride. Let's see, we've successfully established colonies on 47 worlds in the past decade. Each one required some level of cleanup, though the scope varied depending on how many problem species we encountered. The chamber erupted in sounds of shock and dismay. Creatures were communicating rapidly in their various languages, creating a cacophony that Marcus found overwhelming. He had never seen such a strong reaction to what he considered routine colonial procedures. Standard human procedures. I don't understand why everyone seems so upset, Marcus said, his voice carrying over the noise. This is standard procedure for any expanding civilization. You identify suitable worlds, evaluate the obstacles to settlement, then clear away whatever might harm your colonists. It's just logical resource management. Chairman Zethmore's entire body was now pulsing with bright light, indicating extreme agitation in his species. Ambassador Webb, you speak of intelligent beings as if they were pests to be exterminated. From a colonial perspective, that's exactly what they were, Marcus replied matter-of-factly. Look, I'm not trying to be cruel here, but when you're responsible for the safety and success of human settlers, you have to prioritize human interests. If local species interfere with human prosperity, they become problems that need solutions. The revelation's impact. The assembly fell into stunned silence. Marcus could feel thousands of alien eyes studying him with what he now realized was horror rather than curiosity. The Federation representatives were processing the implications of what they had just learned. Humanity wasn't just another expanding species looking for new worlds to inhabit. They were systematic eliminators who removed entire ecosystems to make room for human expansion. Chairman Zethmore slowly sat back down, his metallic form dimming significantly. Ambassador Webb, this session will be postponed while the Federation considers these revelations. You will remain available for further questioning. As Marcus gathered his materials, he could hear urgent conversations breaking out throughout the chamber. He wondered if he had somehow misunderstood the situation. From his perspective, he had simply explained standard human colonial procedures with complete honesty. Why did the aliens seem so disturbed by humanity's obvious success in expanding across the galaxy? Tomorrow's presentations. Walking toward the exit, Marcus remembered that tomorrow he was scheduled to bring in specialists who could provide more detailed explanations of human colonial methods. Dr. Vincent Cross from the Biological Solutions Department, General Harrison Blake from Colonial Security, and Director Nathan Price from Colonial Economics were all prepared to demonstrate the efficiency and effectiveness of human expansion techniques. Perhaps once the Federation understood the sophisticated methods and careful planning behind human colonial success, they would be more impressed than horrified. After all, humanity had turned dozens of chaotic, dangerous worlds into peaceful, productive colonies where humans could thrive safely. Marcus left the chamber confident that tomorrow's presentations would clear up any misunderstandings about human intentions. The specialist's presentation. The expert arrives. Dr. Vincent Cross walked into the Galactic Federation chamber carrying two large metal cases and wearing a confident smile. Behind him followed a team of assistants wheeling in additional equipment. The 50-year-old scientist had spent his entire career developing what he proudly called biological solutions for human colonies across the galaxy. The alien representatives had returned to their seats, though many appeared noticeably more tense than the previous day. Chairman Zethmore's metallic form was dimmer, and several species had positioned themselves further back in their seating areas. The atmosphere felt heavy with unspoken dread. Setting up the demonstration. Good morning, distinguished representatives, Dr. Cross announced cheerfully as he began unpacking his equipment. I'm excited to share some of humanity's most innovative approaches to planetary optimization. What you're about to see represents decades of scientific advancement in ecosystem management. Marcus Webb sat at the small table watching nervously. After yesterday's reaction, he wasn't sure how the aliens would respond to more detailed explanations. But Dr. Cross seemed completely oblivious to the tension in the room as he arranged glass containers, tablets, and projection equipment. Chairman Zethmore spoke with obvious reluctance. Dr. Cross, we have asked you here to explain your methods for dealing with native species on human colony worlds. Please proceed with your presentation. The biological arsenal. Dr. Cross opened his first case, revealing dozens of sealed vials containing various colored liquids, powders, and what appeared to be living organisms. Each container was carefully labeled with codes and symbols that meant nothing to the watching aliens but clearly held great significance for the human scientist. These represent my life's work, Dr. Cross said proudly, holding up a container of bright green liquid. This particular solution was developed specifically for the silicon-based life forms we encountered on Kepler 438b. They were interfering with our mining operations by constantly rebuilding their crystal formations faster than our equipment could remove them. Several alien representatives made sounds of distress. The silicon-based species in the chamber began glowing with agitation, recognizing that Dr. Cross was describing the elimination of creatures similar to themselves. Targeted solutions. The beauty of biological solutions, Dr. Cross continued, activating a holographic display that showed molecular structures, is that we can target specific species without affecting others. This green formula breaks down silicon crystal bonds at the molecular level. One application to their water sources eliminated the entire population within 72 hours. A creature that resembled living crystal in the assembly let out a sound like breaking glass. Dr. Cross looked up with interest. Oh, are you silicon-based? Fascinating. You're quite different from the Kepler variants. I'd love to study your molecular structure sometime. The crystal being retreated further into its seating area while other aliens moved protectively around it. Efficiency in action. Dr. Cross moved to his second case, revealing an array of devices that looked like spray bottles, gas canisters, and small mechanical insects. Sometimes liquid solutions aren't practical, he explained. For the tree-like creatures on Gliese 832c, we needed something that could penetrate their bark-like skin and reach their root systems. He held up what appeared to be a metallic beetle. These little beauties are engineered to burrow into woody tissue and release targeted toxins. Each one can process approximately 50 tree beings before its payload is depleted. We released 10,000 units and cleared the entire continent in just 2 weeks. The plant-like representatives in the assembly began rustling their leaves with obvious distress. Some were changing colors from green to deep purple, which Marcus remembered from his briefings indicated fear in their species. The gas solutions. For underground species, gas solutions work best, Dr. Cross continued enthusiastically. The mole-like creatures on Wolf 1061c lived in extensive tunnel systems that would have taken years to excavate manually. Instead, we developed this heavier-than-air compound that sinks into their burrows. He demonstrated with a small canister, releasing a pale yellow gas that flowed downward like liquid. Completely odorless and painless. They simply went to sleep and never woke up. Very humane, really. Adaptive methodology. Chairman Zethmore's voice was barely above a whisper. How many different solutions have you created? Dr. Cross consulted his tablet with obvious pride. Currently, I maintain an active catalog of over 300 distinct biological solutions, each designed for specific alien physiologies. Carbon-based, silicon-based, methane-breathing, photosynthetic, parasitic, symbiotic, you name it, I've probably developed something for it. He activated another display showing a complex flowchart. The key is proper classification. When our survey teams identify problem species, they send me biological samples. Within weeks, I can engineer a targeted solution that eliminates only the problematic organisms while preserving anything useful to human colonists. The success stories. Let me show you some before and after comparisons, Dr. Cross said, switching to images of various worlds. Proxima Centauri B had 17 different intelligent species when we arrived. After 6 months of targeted applications, we had reduced that to 0 while maintaining all the plant life useful for human agriculture. The images showed thriving human cities where once complex alien ecosystems had existed. Farmland stretched endlessly under alien suns, all perfectly organized for human needs. Quality control. We always test our solutions extensively, Dr. Cross assured the horrified assembly. I maintain strict ethical standards, no unnecessary suffering, maximum efficiency, minimal environmental impact on resources humans can use. It's about precision, not cruelty. He showed molecular models of various compounds. Each solution is designed to target specific biological pathways. The methane breathers on TRAPPIST-1E had completely different respiratory systems, so their formula works by disrupting gas exchange at the cellular level. Very clean, very quick. The scientific pride. Dr. Cross began packing up his equipment, clearly pleased with his presentation. The beautiful thing about biological solutions is their elegance. No explosions, no environmental contamination, no damage to infrastructure. The problem species simply cease to exist, leaving behind perfectly clean worlds ready for human habitation. Chairman Zethmore sat in stunned silence. Around the chamber, alien representatives were communicating in urgent whispers, their various forms of body language all indicating extreme distress. Tomorrow's military perspective. As Dr. Cross finished packing, Marcus stepped forward. Tomorrow, General Harrison Blake will explain the tactical side of colonial operations. He'll show you how we handle larger-scale situations where biological solutions aren't sufficient. The alien assembly erupted in agitated sounds. Many species were now openly displaying fear behaviors, color changes, defensive postures, and rapid communication with their delegations. Dr. Cross smiled at the reaction. General Blake's methods are quite impressive. Sometimes you need a more direct approach than biology can provide. You'll find his orbital strike techniques fascinating from an engineering perspective. As the human delegation left the chamber, the aliens sat in horrified silence, beginning to understand that what they had witnessed was just the beginning of humanity's systematic approach to galactic expansion. The military perspective. The General's entrance. General Harrison Blake marched into the Galactic Federation chamber with military precision. The tall, broad-shouldered man wore a crisp uniform decorated with medals from dozens of colonial campaigns. Behind him came 2 junior officers carrying advanced projection equipment and sealed data drives containing classified military footage. The alien representatives looked even more disturbed than the previous day. Many seats were now empty as several species had apparently chosen not to attend this session. Those who remained kept their distance from the human delegation area, clustering together in the far corners of the massive chamber. Military protocol. Chairman Zethmore's metallic form flickered weakly as he addressed the newcomer. General Blake, we have requested your presence to understand the military aspects of human colonial expansion. Please explain your role in these operations. General Blake stood at attention and activated his equipment with practiced efficiency. Distinguished representatives, I serve as Director of Colonial Security Operations for the Terran Expansion Fleet. My job is to neutralize large-scale threats that biological solutions cannot handle effectively. When biology isn't enough. Dr. Cross showed you precision targeting, General Blake continued, bringing up tactical displays in the holographic space. But sometimes you encounter species that are too numerous, too spread out, or too well defended for individual biological solutions. That's where military intervention becomes necessary. The first image showed a planet covered in massive cities built by an advanced alien civilization. The structures were beautiful and complex, clearly representing thousands of years of cultural development. This is how TRAPPIST-1F looked when our survey teams first arrived, General Blake explained. Population estimated at 4 billion intelligent beings with advanced technology. They had developed orbital defenses and were actively hostile to human presence. Orbital strike capability. General Blake switched to footage from space showing human warships positioned around the planet. Biological solutions would have taken years to be effective against such numbers. The Colonial Board approved a full orbital bombardment campaign instead. The aliens watched in horror as the footage showed bright beams of energy striking the planet's surface. Entire cities vanished in seconds, replaced by glowing craters. The bombardment continued for hours, systematically targeting every population center on the planet. Complete neutralization achieved in 18 hours, General Blake reported with professional pride. Zero human casualties, minimal damage to mineral resources and agricultural zones. Tactical efficiency. A creature resembling a massive butterfly with crystalline wings spoke in a voice like tinkling bells. Those were cities full of families, children, entire civilizations with art and culture and history. General Blake nodded respectfully, "Yes ma'am, and that's exactly why precision was so important. We used targeting algorithms to ensure maximum population elimination while preserving infrastructure that human colonists could later utilize." Very efficient resource management. He showed before and after images of the same planet. Where alien cities once stood, new human settlements were already under construction, using the foundations and materials left behind. Underground operations. Sometimes species try to hide from orbital strikes, General Blake continued, switching to new footage. The rock dwellers on Kepler 452b retreated into deep cave systems when they detected our fleet approaching. Standard bombardment couldn't reach them at those depths. The new images showed human soldiers in advanced armor using massive drilling equipment to penetrate underground. We developed specialized bunkerbuster tactics for subterranean species. These plasma borers can reach depths of up to 50 kilometers. The footage showed the drills creating glowing tunnels deep into the planet's crust, followed by soldiers deploying gas canisters into the depths. We pumped the entire underground network full of Dr. Cross's heavier-than-air compounds. Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Aquatic challenges. General Blake activated footage from an ocean world covered entirely in water. Aquatic species present unique tactical challenges. The fish people of Gliese 1214b lived in underwater cities across their entire planet. Conventional weapons lose effectiveness in deep water. The solution, as the aliens watched with growing revulsion, involved human submarines releasing massive quantities of toxins into the ocean currents. We calculated flow patterns to ensure global distribution within 6 months. Complete oceanic sterilization achieved without damaging the water itself for future human use. Aerial threats. Flying species require different approaches, General Blake said, showing footage of creatures that looked like intelligent birds with cities built in the clouds of a gas giant's atmosphere. These aerial dwellers on HD 40307G lived in floating platforms throughout the planet's upper atmosphere. The military solution involved human fighters equipped with specialized weapons designed to disrupt the anti-gravity technology keeping the cities aloft. Once their platforms failed, natural gravity did the rest of our work for us. Very cost-effective operation. Adaptive strategies. Chairman Zethmore's voice was barely audible. How many worlds have required military intervention? General Blake consulted his tablet. Full military operations on 23 worlds so far. Partial military support on another 41. We're averaging about one major campaign every 6 months as human expansion accelerates. He showed a galactic map with human colonies marked in green and target worlds marked in red. The key is staying ahead of the expansion schedule. Civilian colonists can't settle safely until all hostile species have been neutralized. Combined operations. The most effective campaigns combine multiple approaches, General Blake explained, showing complex tactical plans. We use Dr. Cross's biological solutions to weaken populations, then follow up with targeted strikes to eliminate survivors and destroy infrastructure that might shelter resistance movements. The footage showed this combined approach in action on multiple worlds. Biological warfare followed by orbital bombardment, then ground forces moving in to eliminate any remaining pockets of alien life. Success metrics. Our success rate is 99.7%, General Blake announced proudly. Only 3 worlds have required follow-up operations to eliminate species that survived our initial campaigns. We learn from each engagement and improve our methods constantly. Training and preparation. Every human colony ship travels with a full military escort, General Blake continued. Our crews train specifically for rapid species elimination scenarios. We can deploy any combination of biological, orbital, or ground-based solutions within hours of arriving at a target world. He showed images of human soldiers practicing with various weapons designed specifically for fighting different types of alien physiology. Versatility is key. We never know exactly what we'll encounter, so we prepare for everything. Tomorrow's economic analysis. As General Blake began packing up his equipment, Marcus Webb stepped forward again. Tomorrow, Director Nathan Price will explain the economic factors that drive our colonial policies. You'll understand why these methods are not just effective, but necessary for human prosperity. The remaining alien representatives sat in stunned silence. Many were now openly displaying signs of panic, rapid color changes, erratic movement patterns, and urgent communication attempts with their home worlds. General Blake smiled at their reaction. Director Price has some fascinating cost-benefit analyses. You'll see exactly why military solutions represent the most economically sound approach to galactic expansion. The numbers are quite impressive. As the human delegation left the chamber, several alien species immediately began emergency communications with their governments. The scope of human expansion methods was becoming clear, and the implications were more terrifying than anyone in the Galactic Federation had imagined. The business logic. The corporate director. Director Nathan Price entered the Galactic Federation chamber wearing an expensive suit and carrying a briefcase full of financial reports. The 45-year-old corporate executive had spent his career optimizing human colonial operations for maximum profit and efficiency. His presentation would reveal the cold economic calculations behind humanity's expansion methods. Only half the alien seats were now occupied. Many species had fled after General Blake's military briefing, and those remaining looked terrified. Chairman Zethmore's metallic form was barely glowing, indicating extreme distress in his species. Economic efficiency. Distinguished representatives, Director Price began cheerfully, today I'll show you why our colonial methods aren't just effective, they're economically superior to any alternative approach. He activated holographic displays showing complex financial charts and cost projections. The key question in colonial expansion is simple: coexistence or elimination. Let me show you why elimination wins every time. The first chart compared 2 scenarios. Scenario 1, attempting to coexist with native species. Ongoing costs include diplomatic negotiations, territorial disputes, property damage, crop losses, medical expenses from alien diseases, and constant security requirements. These costs never end, they continue for decades or centuries. The numbers don't lie. Director Price switched to a second chart showing a sharp spike followed by a flat line. Scenario 2, complete elimination. High initial investment in biological solutions, military operations, and cleanup crews. But once the job is done, costs drop to zero permanently. No more negotiations, no more conflicts, no more losses. He pointed to specific numbers. Over a 20-year period, elimination costs 68% less than coexistence attempts. The return on investment is extraordinary. A creature resembling a giant tree spoke in a voice like rustling leaves. You're calculating the value of genocide. I'm calculating the value of efficient resource allocation, Director Price corrected. Every credit spent on unnecessary complications is a credit not invested in human prosperity and expansion. Productivity analysis. Director Price showed production statistics from various human colonies. Worlds where we achieved complete species elimination show productivity rates 43% higher than worlds where we attempted coexistence. Cleaner environments, no sabotage, no resource competition, no time wasted on diplomatic protocols. The charts showed impressive agricultural yields, mining outputs, and manufacturing statistics from cleaned worlds compared to the few colonies where humans had tried to share space with alien species. Case study comparisons. Let me give you a specific example, Director Price said, bringing up images of two similar worlds, colony world designation Alpha 7 and Beta 12. Similar climates, similar resources, established in the same year. Alpha 7 eliminated all native species within 6 months. Beta 12 attempted coexistence. The comparison was stark. Alpha 7 showed thriving human cities and productive farmland. Beta 12 showed smaller settlements surrounded by walls and defensive structures. Alpha 7 now supports 3 million human colonists with a gross planetary product of 400 billion credits annually. Beta 12 struggles to maintain 50,000 colonists with constant security issues and production losses from ongoing conflicts with surviving alien species. The Federation's response. Emergency session. Chairman Zeth Moore rose slowly from his podium, his metallic form now completely dark except for faint emergency lighting along his edges. This session is concluded. The Federation will deliberate. As the human delegation gathered their materials, Marcus Webb looked around the nearly empty chamber. When should we expect your decision about our membership application? The few remaining alien representatives were communicating frantically in their various languages. Several species were already heading for the exits, clearly intent on warning their home worlds about what they had learned. The horrifying truth. Within hours of the humans' departure, every member species of the Galactic Federation received urgent communications about humanity's true nature. The evidence was undeniable, humans weren't just another expanding civilization looking for new homes. They were systematic eliminators who viewed other intelligent species as problems to be solved through extermination. Chancellor Kethvar, the Federation's highest-ranking official, called an emergency assembly. The ancient being had lived for over 1,000 years and had never encountered anything like humanity's approach to galactic expansion. The debate. The question before us is simple, Chancellor Kethvar announced to the packed emergency session. Do we allow this species to continue their expansion, or do we act to stop them? The debate was intense. Some species argued for immediate military action against human colonies. Others proposed diplomatic solutions, though after witnessing human methods, few believed diplomacy would be effective. They eliminated 4 billion beings on Trappist, 1F in 18 hours, reminded the crystalline representative who had barely survived Dear Cross's earlier demonstration. They have over 300 different biological weapons designed to target specific alien physiologies. They view our existence as an economic inefficiency to be corrected. The calculations. Species after species shared their own encounters with human expansion. Mining worlds where entire underground civilizations had been gassed. Ocean worlds where billions of aquatic beings had been poisoned. Forest worlds where ancient tree cities had been burned to make room for human agriculture. They don't see us as equals, Chancellor Kethvar observed. They see us as pests. Vermin to be exterminated when we interfere with their expansion plans. The Federation's military advisors presented their analysis. Human colonies were heavily defended, their technology was advanced, and their willingness to use extreme violence was absolute. Any military confrontation would result in massive casualties on both sides. The final decision. After days of debate, the Galactic Federation reached a unanimous decision. Humanity would be declared a threat to all galactic civilization. All member species would be warned to avoid human space. Any worlds in the path of human expansion would be evacuated immediately. But they would not start a war. The humans had made their position clear, they would eliminate any species that stood in their way, using whatever methods proved most efficient. The Federation wasn't prepared for that level of systematic violence. The new reality. Chancellor Kethvar made the final announcement to the Federation Assembly. We will withdraw from sectors where humans are expanding. We will relocate threatened species to safer regions of the galaxy. We will monitor human expansion and maintain our distance. It was a retreat disguised as a strategic decision. The Galactic Federation, representing thousands of species across hundreds of worlds, was abandoning entire sectors of space rather than confront humanity's expansion methods. Epilogue: Human Success. 6 months later, Marcus Webb received a message from the Galactic Federation. Humanity's membership application had been indefinitely postponed. The Federation suggested that humans continue their current expansion patterns without formal diplomatic contact. Marcus shared the news with his colleagues. Dr. Vincent Cross was already developing new biological solutions for recently discovered species. General Harrison Blake was planning military campaigns for 12 new target worlds. Director Nathan Price was calculating profit projections for the next phase of expansion. None of them understood that the Federation's message was actually a surrender. The aliens had chosen retreat over resistance, evacuation over confrontation. Humanity's methods had proved so effective that an entire galactic civilization preferred to flee rather than fight. The humans continued their expansion across the stars, turning world after world into clean, efficient colonies where only human life remained. Behind them, they left empty space where once diverse alien civilizations had thrived. And in the depths of space, the remaining species of the Galactic Federation quietly relocated to distant sectors, hoping they were far enough away to escape humanity's definition of cleanup operations. The universe was big enough for both humans and aliens, as long as they never occupied the same space.